Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel! Today, we're going on a wild ride into the world of office politics, specifically how bad narcissists can be at work. And trust me, if you've ever had a narcissist in your workplace, you already know it's like starring in your very own reality TV show, only with more drama, gaslighting, and questionable coffee choices. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's dive into this epic adventure of workplace madness. All right, picture this. You walk into the office on a Monday morning and there's that one person, the one who thinks they're the reincarnation of a corporate superhero. But in reality, they're more like a Bond villain with a side of daytime Emmy drama. Yep, I'm talking about the narcissist at work. You might think, hey, we all have a little ego sometimes, right? But no, when that ego is as big as a hot air balloon and refuses to deflate, you know you're in trouble. Today, we're going to explore the different flavors of narcissism at work, how they wreak havoc on our professional lives, and what you can do to survive this circus. So buckle up because things are about to get hilarious and brutally honest. Let's start with the boss. Yes, that one boss who doesn't just believe they're right, they know they're always right. It's like they've taken the phrase, my way or the highway to heart and built their entire kingdom on it. Picture this, you hand in a report, and instead of giving constructive feedback, they take credit for your work while simultaneously pointing out every little mistake you made, mistakes you never even made. You, thinking to yourself, I worked overtime on that project, staying late to make sure everything was perfect. Boss, like a true narcissist, I had the brilliant idea for that project, and everyone knows that perfection comes naturally to me. If something went wrong, it's obviously because you didn't understand my directions. And just like that, you're left questioning whether you need glasses. Because clearly, you couldn't see the brilliance that is your boss. It's like being in an endless debate with a magic mirror that only reflects one opinion, theirs. They're so obsessed with being right that even when evidence is piled on the table, they can just wave it off with, that never happened. And if it did, it was because I was multitasking genius style. I mean, come on. Now let's talk about that colleague. The one who thrives on office drama like it's their job description. This person is the human equivalent of a tornado, leaving a trail of chaos in their wake. They start arguments out of thin air, spread rumors faster than a viral meme, and somehow manage to make every day feel like an episode of a reality TV show. Imagine you're at the water cooler just trying to have a normal conversation about the weekend. Suddenly, this chaos agent leans in and says, "Did you hear what happened in the meeting? I can't believe what Samantha said about the project." And before you know it, you're dragged into a spiraling conspiracy theory about who's really in charge, who's planning a hostile takeover, and why the office printer is secretly a government spy. Breaking news: Samantha is allegedly plotting to replace all coffee in the office with decaf. Details are still emerging, but sources say this is just the tip of the iceberg in an ongoing saga of workplace betrayal. The chaos agent not only stirs up drama, they also have this uncanny ability to make you second-guess your sanity. One minute you're the calm, rational employee, and the next, you're deep in a rabbit hole of office politics, wondering if you accidentally walked into an alternate dimension where logic takes a coffee break. And here's the kicker, everyone ends up believing them. It's like they have a PhD in manipulation with a minor in selective storytelling. Next up, we have the professional martyr. This is that person who pretends to work harder than everyone else, usually while simultaneously doing the bare minimum. They're the ones who stay late, send emails at 2 a.m., and then post on social media about how much they sacrifice for the company. Spoiler alert, they're not winning any awards for actual productivity. Imagine you're working on a project and you see their name on every late-night email signature, every self-congratulatory Slack message, and every all-too-dramatic post about how the system is rigged against hard-working people. And while you're hustling away, they're busy crafting their next Oscar-worthy monologue about their self-imposed suffering. I stayed home last night to binge-watch an entire season of my favorite show because I had to wake up at 8 a.m. for a meeting. Meanwhile, they were at the office until midnight, battling spreadsheets and sending inspirational quotes to the entire department. And then, when it comes time for the promotion announcements, guess what? Our professional martyr gets the gold star. Not because they're actually doing more work, but because they made everyone else feel guilty for having a life. It's like the Oscars, but for the art of looking busy and miserable. The only problem? The only person clapping at their sad victory is their reflection in the mirror. Now let's move on to the dangerous breed of narcissists known as the toxic boss whisperer. I had one of these before. This is the employee who has managed to befriend the higher-ups to such a degree that they practically ride around on the boss's coattails. They're like that superfan who not only knows every lyric to your favorite song, but also gets to call the artist by their first name. You can always spot them in meetings. While everyone else is nervously presenting ideas, the toxic boss whisperer is casually tossing out suggestions like, "Oh, I think we should do it this way," with an air of authority that makes you question if you've been working for amateurs. Missed a deadline? No big deal. Apparently, the toxic boss whisperer is too busy schmoozing with management to notice. When problems arise, they're the first to say, "Oh, that wasn't my fault. I was following the boss's orders." You, sardonically. I tried to tell them the report was wrong, but apparently, following orders is a magical excuse that erases all responsibility. And if you dare raise a concern, here comes the classic line. "You're just overreacting." Seriously? Overreacting? I'm trying to figure out why I'm working in an episode of Survivor Corporate Edition, and you say I'm overreacting? The only thing overreacting here is the way you change the subject the moment accountability comes knocking. By the time you realize what's happening, the whole meeting has spiraled into an endless loop of blame shifting and self-congratulatory backslapping. Bravo, toxic boss whisperer, bravo. All right, now let's talk about the ultimate grandmaster of narcissistic behavior at work, the one who combines all these traits into a single walking, talking paradox of arrogance and denial. This person isn't just content with being right, causing chaos, or playing the martyr. They've taken it a step further by mastering the art of intellectual superiority. You know the type. When confronted, they'll say things like, "Look, I wouldn't expect you to understand because this concept is above your level." It's like they're hosting a TED Talk on how to be a genius, and the rest of us are just extra credit students who missed class. They're the ones who rewrite history on the fly. For example, you might remind them, "Remember that meeting last week when you said X?" And they'll respond with a wink and a smirk. "I never said that, but if I did, it was a stroke of brilliance that you clearly failed to comprehend." I mean, come on. How can you argue with someone who lives in a world where logic is optional and every mistake is actually a misunderstood masterpiece? At this point, you might as well bring a notepad to document every outlandish statement, because one day you'll need to compare notes on just how wildly unhinged they can be. And let's be honest, by the end of the day, you're left wondering if you accidentally stepped into an alternate dimension where facts are optional and opinions are law. Okay, so we've laughed, we've ranted, and we've all had our fill of that narcissistic drama. But let's get real for a minute. How do you actually survive working with these larger-than-life personalities? Here are a few survival tips that I swear by. Number 1. Set crystal clear boundaries. Boundaries are your best friend. Narcissists love to push limits and blur lines. Whether it's how they take credit for your work or how they can twist a conversation around their own ego, be firm on what you're willing to tolerate. Politely but firmly say, "Nope, that's not happening," or "Let's stick to the facts here." It might feel uncomfortable at first, but trust me, your sanity will thank you later. Number 2, document everything. If it isn't in writing, did it even happen? Keep emails, take notes during meetings, and if possible, record conversations, within legal boundaries, of course. When a narcissist tries to rewrite history, you'll have the receipts to back you up. Plus, it's like your very own archive of "I told you so" moments. Number 3, don't engage in their drama. This honestly might be the hardest part, resisting the urge to join the circus. Narcissists love to bait you into heated debates and endless back and forths. When they start twisting the truth or changing the subject, take a step back. Instead of firing off a counter-argument that might spiral into another drama fest, sometimes it's best to simply say, "Let's circle back to that later," or even walk away if needed. Number 4, know when to walk away. This might sound harsh, but sometimes the best thing you can do is exit stage left. If the narcissistic behavior is affecting your mental health or hindering your career growth, it might be time to look for greener pastures. Remember, you deserve to work in an environment where your contributions are recognized, and where you don't have to deal with constant ego trips and gaslighting. Number 5, build a strong support network. Surround yourself with colleagues who see through the narcissistic fog. Having a team that supports one another and recognizes manipulative behaviors can make all the difference. It's like having your own Avengers squad, ready to call out the villain when they try to take over the meeting. Number 6. For the love of God, please try to keep your sense of humor. When all else fails, laugh it off. Humor is a powerful antidote to frustration. Every time a narcissist makes an outrageous claim or rewrites reality, imagine it as a scene from a badly scripted sitcom. Not only does it lighten the mood, but it also helps you maintain your sanity. After all, if you can't laugh at the absurdity of it all, you might just start crying. And no one wants to see that in a meeting. Now, let me share a couple of office stories that happened to me with that toxic narcissistic at work. So there was this one meeting where our resident narcissist decided to present an idea that was, let's say, completely out of left field. Midway through the presentation, someone in the back raised a legitimate concern. And what did our hero do? Instead of addressing it, they said, "Oh, you wouldn't understand the brilliance behind this. It's okay, you can leave the heavy thinking to me." The room fell silent. The concern was never addressed. Instead, the narcissist launched into an impromptu lecture on why their ideas were the future of the company. It was like watching someone perform a one-person play where the only character was their own inflated ego. Can we say Kanye? Another time I received an email that was a masterclass in narcissistic language. It started off by complimenting the recipient on their dedication, a thinly veiled backhanded remark, really, and then proceeded to outline how every single problem the team was facing was due to someone not following the brilliant strategy. Hint, hint, the strategy that only the sender seemed to understand. The email ended with a reminder that any deviation from this divine strategy would result in, well, nothing specific, but it was delivered with such confidence that it almost made sense. At that point, you just had to smile and nod, and then immediately forward the email to your best friend with the subject line, "Can you believe this?" Now, before you start thinking that all narcissists are just bad employees who need to be fired on the spot, let's take a brief detour into the psychology behind the behavior. Don't worry, I promise it won't get too boring. This is where you get the fun facts. Narcissism, in its extreme form, is essentially an overinflated sense of self-importance. These folks crave admiration, believe they're always the smartest person in the room, and often lack empathy for others. In a work environment, these traits can be magnified. Imagine being in a room where one person's self-esteem is so fragile that any criticism or even a hint of disagreement is met with defensive maneuvers worthy of a high-stakes negotiation. It's like watching a cat that's been given way too many treats. They strut around, knock over your favorite vase, and when you confront them, they just look at you like, "What? I'm adorable and brilliant, and you're just jealous." While this might be a humorous analogy, the truth is that such behavior can seriously disrupt team dynamics, lower morale, and, if left unchecked, cause a lot of stress. But hey, at least it makes for some entertaining stories to share at the water cooler, right? Let's talk about the aftermath of dealing with a narcissist at work. It's not all just laughs and sarcastic memes. There's real damage that gets done. First, I'm sure you've experienced a decreased sense of morale and productivity when you're constantly having to defend your work, correct twisted versions of reality, and navigate an environment filled with drama. It's no wonder morale takes a nosedive. It's like trying to run a marathon while someone's constantly tripping you up with witty remarks and bogus criticisms. Productivity? Forget about it. You end up spending more time managing personalities than actually getting work done. Second, there is this erosion of trust. Trust is the glue that holds any team together. When you have a narcissist who rewrites history, takes credit for your ideas, and shifts blame faster than you can say "meeting adjourned," that trust starts to crumble. Before you know it, your team's communication is riddled with suspicion, and everyone's second-guessing each other's intentions. And guess who benefits the most from this? Yup, the narcissist. They thrive in an atmosphere of chaos where no one can rely on each other. Another thing, if you're stuck working with a narcissist for an extended period, it can really mess with your career trajectory. Not only do you risk getting overshadowed by their constant self-promotion, but you might also start doubting your own abilities. Suddenly, that project you poured your heart into feels insignificant next to their grandiose, self-aggrandizing antics. And while you might eventually move on, the scars of those endless arguments and unproductive meetings can linger for a long time. There's also this ripple effect on company culture. When narcissists are allowed to run rampant in an organization, it sets a dangerous precedent. Other employees might start mimicking that behavior. If you see the person with the biggest ego always getting praised, why wouldn't you start exaggerating your own contributions? Over time, what was once a collaborative environment can turn into a competitive arena of self-promotion, where teamwork takes a backseat to individual glory. And that, my friends, is a recipe for a toxic workplace. Okay, so we've dissected the anatomy of narcissism at work, laughed at some absurd moments, and even taken a detour into the psychology behind it all. But now, the million-dollar question. How do you keep your sanity when faced with this kind of madness every single day? Here's the bottom line. You are not alone. Find your allies, whether it's coworkers who see through the madness or friends outside of work who can laugh at your misery. Build a support network. Sharing your experiences can be cathartic and sometimes a little bit hilarious. Practice self-care. When you're in a toxic environment, it's crucial to take care of yourself. Whether that means meditation, exercise, or simply zoning out with your favorite sitcom, do what helps you recharge. Remember, it's not personal. Often, narcissistic behavior is more about them than it is about you. Their inflated ego and constant need for validation are internal struggles projected onto you. Recognize that you're not the problem, even when they make you feel like you are. Keep a sense of humor. This might be the ultimate life raft. Every time a narcissist tries to twist your reality, imagine it as part of an absurd sitcom. Laugh it off, and remember that while you can't control their behavior, you can control your reaction. Plan your exit strategy. Sometimes the healthiest move is to get out. If the toxicity becomes too much and you're finding it impossible to do your job without the constant barrage of narcissistic drama, it might be time to update that resume and find a workplace where your talents are actually appreciated. And let's be honest, sometimes you've just got to roll your eyes so hard that your coworkers can hear them. But hey, that's a small price to pay for keeping your sanity intact in a world run by narcissistic office overlords. Before we wrap up, let's have a little heart-to-heart. Working with narcissists is tough. It's like living in a real-life sitcom where the script is constantly being rewritten by someone who believes they're the star. But here's the thing. By understanding their tactics and knowing how to navigate the minefield, you can reclaim your power. You don't have to be a victim of their inflated egos. Next time you're in a meeting and the narcissist starts their trademark routine, be it gaslighting with, "That never happened," or diverting the conversation with a sudden, "Oh, speaking of which, did you see what happened last weekend?" Just take a deep breath, smile, and remember, you're the one in control. You can either let them dictate the narrative, or you can document, deflect, and most importantly, laugh at the absurdity of it all. Sometimes you might even catch them off guard by calling out their behavior. In a witty, non-confrontational way, of course. A little humor can be a powerful tool. For instance, if they claim, "I'm not wrong, you just don't understand my genius," you might reply with a playful, "Oh, I understand. Your genius is so advanced it transcends our mere mortal comprehension." It might not change their behavior, but it certainly gives you a moment of victory in an otherwise draining situation. And hey, if nothing else, these encounters make for some great stories. Later on, you can look back and laugh at how ridiculous it all was, because the best revenge is a good laugh and a killer resume that lands you a job where you're respected, valued, and free from narcissistic drama. All right, folks, we've reached the end of today's epic journey through the wild, wacky world of narcissists at work. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the absurdities of office life and maybe even learned a few survival tips along the way. Remember, while you can't control the narcissists around you, you can control how you react. And sometimes, that reaction can be as simple as a hearty laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of it all. Before you go, I want you to do 3 things. Like and subscribe. If you've ever had to deal with a narcissist at work, hit that like button and subscribe for more real talk and humorous survival guides. Comment below. Share your funniest or most outrageous story of dealing with a narcissistic coworker. Trust me, we all need a good laugh and some solidarity in these trying times. Share this video. Spread the word to your colleagues, friends, and that one person who's always dealing with the narcissist and their office drama. Until next, stay strong.